My wife Donna and I, we watch a few DIY videos, and my competition, who generally have like millions of viewers. Well, happily, I have 3,500 subscribers. Thank you very much for subscribing. I hope I get a few more. Anyways, they're making lists. I thought I'd make a list today about what I'm going to accomplish. Oh, not a very big list. Maybe that's just step 3. Step 1, tear down the motorhome. That's already done. You can cross that one off. Step 2, tear down the fire truck. No, we'll continue with that today. What a motor. It's not diesel. Carburetor is actually cast iron, as is the riser that's there. I think there's an alloy or stainless intake, but pretty much everything on this is cast iron. Yeah, I'd like to just lift the motor out, but there's things in the way that also have to come off. The radiator. We've got the transmission and the drive shaft. The motor itself is tied on with a bell housing here, 2 mounts, and then a single point in the front, right underneath the front pulley. And to get to those, though, I need to take the radiator off first. And then I'll follow up with the drive shaft and the transmission. To take the transmission off, I've got this shift linkage that'll have to come off. Let's get to it. This actual bracket here is bent upward. I can't believe that I would bend that upward when I was trying to lift the cab off, so that must have been at some other point. I tried to lift here or something. It's amazing. You got to crawl up underneath this truck to get to things, but it's so high off the ground, you end up needing to boost yourself up just to get your arms long enough to reach them. It's like when I had to use the ladder. The truck was on the lift, so I could get up underneath it. Then I had to get a ladder so I could get up to the hoses that were on the go to the power steering. Wish I had a socket. Thought I had far enough. I might be able to break these bolts here under this frame cross member, because that's the central motor mount. Next is this drive shaft. It's like 8 or 10 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 8 bolts holding on the back, and the front is just a couple of the normal kind of U-bolts that hold the U-joints on. Yeah, they're tight enough. Let's loosen them. Okay. There we go. Huh. That's how my shift linkage didn't work too well, is this thing's all twisted and bent. That just lines up. Ball in the socket there, not a problem. Alrighty then. So we've got a linkage here from the clutch. And that's going to come off with the bell housing, so I need to take that off. Oh, there you go. There you go. There's a grease point going in there. Yeah. Ooh, that's stiff. Good grief. No wonder you couldn't turn the clutch or nothing. Everything on this hadn't been oiled in a while. All right. Next thing, transmission. I don't know which is the bell housing. Is this part the bell housing or is this the bell housing? Doesn't matter. I'm taking these bolts out around the front of the transmission here and get rid of that part. Looks like here there's a couple of brackets that used to go to a stand that they had to hold the metal cover, engine cover up. So I'll just probably leave these two loose, take all the others out. Then I'll get the gantry crane in here and hoist it up. Roll 9/16. Next, the motor. There's a motor mount underneath the front pulley and these two big bolts here, and that should be it. So it just sits on there, so I'm just going to take those off first, I guess. And then I'll take the other ones out. There's a rubber isolation bushing here and on that side. And they're right up against the nut on the other end of this. And it's also a nylock. So that, see if I can just break this somehow. I don't think I can. I can turn it. Doesn't mean it's coming free. Going to be a bit fiddly, but this little wrench here is kind of trapped there, and it holds that nut well enough that I can turn this bolt. Huh, it worked. Try as I might, I couldn't get the camera in a position to look at this. So you'll just have to trust me that there's some bolts up here. I don't know what size they are. Pretty small, actually. And I don't really know. Oh, they got nuts on the top too. May have turned it. Also may have rounded off the bolt head. Yeah, I think I rounded off the bolt head. No, I think I actually loosened it. The bolt itself is kind of jammed in there or something. Okay, try this. Alrighty then. Wow, so far it hasn't budged. What else is holding it? It's stuck on these plates, and it's keeping me from lifting it up enough to get the front pulley off. I can't pry the pulley off over that cross member. So take these mounts off on both sides, and that should free it up. Oof. There you go. Massive thing. Let's get the other side. Well, the bracket on the other side is unbolted, but it's jammed in there, trapped between the motor and the frame. I didn't want to get my hand in there and try to pry it out because the motor could swing and pinch my hand in. So I'm going to see what happens now when I try to lift it. Okay, that's looking good. It's actually lighter now. I think I must have been trying to pick up the frame at the same time. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do here is just continue raising it up just enough to get over the frame, and I'll push it over to that side, set it down. And I don't really want to move the, I've been moving this gantry crane around with a load on it. Lighter loads, I think that's okay, but this load here, not. So I'm going to set it on the floor over there, reposition the gantry, pick it up again, and push it further out that way. I'm going to have to pull this frame out of here to get the tractor in to pick this up. But again, I don't think the tractor can pick this up. So that's going to be another challenge. First step, just get it on the ground. Well, with this motor off, I might be able to actually push that truck a little bit. I would like to take this stuff off, but I just don't want to while it's hanging in the air. Problem is, if I don't take it off, I'll smash it. Let's just get it closer to the ground for now. Okay, that's on the ground. I feel safe enough to work on this air compressor. Get that out of there for now. I'm just spinning my wheels trying to take these bolts off because I can't get to this one. That one's going to be tough, and even if I do, I can't take it out of there. So I'll just take the main bracket off. These two bolts are already off because those held the power steering pump. Ooh, got oil there. Whew. No? Oh yeah, there you go. There's a bolt right there. Looks like it has that entry. Well, that's weird. Why would they? Oops. Got water in it yet from cooling. Okay, let's get this out of here. I don't know the purpose of this being here. It's open. It's got oil coming out of it, so I've got a brass bung here. I'm going to put that in there. This carburetor is held on by 6 9/16 bolts, or nuts. Studs, I think, go all the way through this riser. The intake manifold and the exhaust manifold appear to be bolted together here. Happily only in these two bolts here. Okay, next thing to come off is this little hose. Looks like that was for EGR. Oh, well, I don't need to worry about taking that apart. So far, so good. Yeah, top and bottom. The exhaust and intake manifold will come off together because they're held on by the same clamps. It's amazing to me is that these bolts are turning so easily. The ones on top are. I don't know about the ones on the bottom. Okay. It's not going to come off easily, doesn't look like. Do a bit of prying. Oh, there's another bolt. Didn't see that one. Right in the middle here is another bolt. Okay, I don't know if I can get a wrench in there. They got it under somehow and they tightened it. That holds on the exhaust manifold. The intake manifold's got to come off. Aha! Still, I can't get to that bolt. Well, this is off. That's good. I've had a rethink about moving this motor, trying to get it light enough to pick up by the tractor. I just don't think, even taking the heads off and everything else, that I can pick up the crankshaft and the block. I just don't think it's going to happen. Tractor just can't do it. That means I'll have to use the gantry crane to pick it up. I'll have to move the truck chassis out, bring the trailer in, use the gantry to pick it up and put it on the trailer. You know, I'll have to do that. What's the point of taking it apart? So I'll leave it all together. I'll scrap out the bits that can be scrapped. There's brass pieces, there's a copper pipe there. Little electronic item here, starter motor, alternator. There we go. The Lease Neville Company, Cleveland, Ohio. Says system ground, positive ground. Huh. Volts, 14 amps, 100. Right. Well, the last thing I want to do to this motor is to drain the oil out of it. I think I got all the valuable stuff off of it, other than a brass plug on the other side. Yeah, that's not slowing down at all. Really thin. It's full of gasoline. Now I'll drain this part and come back. Moving right along, I had so much trouble getting this frame in here last time because I couldn't steer the front tires. I'm just going to put the steering column back together. And at least I can use the steering wheel then to pry it around. That means I got to put the column back in and then put the this arm back into the sector, whatever it's called. It's just that freezing outside, a little bit below. There's no rush for me to get that motor out of here or to, you know, clear the way. So I'm just going to continue stripping this frame. I've got the air tanks out, the remainder of the air lines except for what feeds the brakes, all the air brakes. I've got a couple of valves, air regulator valves or something here. All the linkage for the shifting is gone. Clutch rod is still there. And I'll continue to the back and take out all the lines and all that. The frame is fairly well stripped. I've got the cab mounts, which I still need there. I need to take measurements in relationship to the axle. That tells me where the cab sits on the axle. Before I can do much more, I need to get the frame up on the hoist, and that will allow me to take the front axle off, the rear axle off. And to get the axles off, I need to cut the spring perches off because they're riveted on. Fuel tank is still on. I really can't go any further though until I get this up on the hoist, and I can't do that because the motor's in the way. I can't get the motor out because the frame is in the way. So anyways, I'm going to pull the frame out and bring the trailer in. I'll just pick up that motor and set it straight onto the trailer, and that'll free me up to get rid of some other stuff I've got laying on the floor, the intake and exhaust manifolds, take those off to scrap. So that'll be the trailer loaded up. At that point, I can bring the frame back in, get it back on the hoist, and start taking all my measurements, and then take the axles off and see how best I can proceed to join it up to the motorhome frame over there. In the next episode, I'll be taking a bunch of measurements. These 4 cab mounts have to be in a certain place for the cab to bolt on. Those are in a certain relationship in height of where the front axle is. So I need to know the height of these. I need to know the axle center line in relationship to the mounts. And that should put the cab pretty close. But at the end of the day, that frame is going to set a lot lower. I'm going to have this part raised somehow. That's all going to take a lot of engineering. I did find one thing out. The inside, the front and the back part of this frame, it's very, very wide web in the middle. But on the ends, it's tapered down. The front tapers down and the back taper down. The front is a bit longer than the back. I might actually end up using the back of this frame for the front because it just works out better. But what I found out was the frame over there is 6 inches top to bottom on the outside. The inside of this part of this frame is 6 inches right between these two on the inside. That'll bolt straight in. That's a pretty lucky thing, I think. It'll bolt right in there. Having said that, this is where it comes up to keeping the relationship of the cab with the wheels. The tires on those are, I think I said before, they're 27 inches high. These are actually closer to 40 inches high. I will use something somewhere in between that. I don't have a tire like that yet. I don't have a wheel like that yet. I have these 20-inch rims that come off of this. Those are 16.5s. I might have to make up wheels And then some, I don't know what kind of tire, maybe a piece of wood, something just to get it off the ground in a certain place. I could just use jack stands. But on top of all that, from the outside of this frame to the outside of that frame is 33 inches. That is 56 inches. So I have to widen this frame as well. And that's going to make it even more complicated for these cab mounts. I'll work it out. You know, the motor's got to fit up in here somehow from the motorhome. Yeah, like I said, this is going to be fun. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. And we'll see you in the next episode.